I
One,
brought my
three.
scissors back from our Yellow Jackets review.
Welcome to the Spooky Screen, where four best friends review horror movies and television shows. Two quick adjustments there. We're down to 4 from 5. Johnny is still on hiatus, and we miss him, and hope and look forward to him joining us at, again, a date of his choosing. And today...
He's touring with his band.
Yes, he's touring with his band. They're called the Sliding Rocks. And today we won't be reviewing a horror movie as we usually do. We'll actually be reviewing a movie that is currently in theaters, but wouldn't be considered horror by any means. And I think it'll just kind of it'll be a part of a new trend for us here at the Spooky Screen, where we are going to be more and more open to reviewing non-horror films and seeing what you, the audience, how you guys react to that. If you prefer horror films or not, just feel free to let us know. But today we'll be reviewing the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is, again, currently in theaters. It was released last month in April. Can you believe it's May already?
Right.
I'm happy though.
Yeah, happy for all those accountants across America.
That's what this movie spoke to me.
If you stood outside,
I'll get into that though when it's my turn.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I'll hold back on that.
Yeah, it was written for me, Stephen.
This movie was directed by the Daniels, a duo who is most widely known for a movie that includes a farting Harry Potter. It's called Swiss Army Man. And before that, they were most widely known for directing the masterpiece. Sorry, not the movie, the music video, which I consider to be a masterpiece after going and watching it literally a few hours ago. Turned Down for What by Lil Jon. Which I recommend you three all go watch right after this recording.
No, that's Snap Your Fingers.
No, this is
okay.
Turn Down for What?
It's been a while. It's been a while since I've heard Lil Jon anything.
Yeah, but I mean,
you've heard Turn Down for What for sure.
No, I know it's just been a while.
You know, it's kind of a miracle that none of us have seen this music video up until now, because the song was
I've
just
seen the music video for this.
You've seen
I just
it?
never knew it was. Yeah, I just didn't know that.
I haven't
guys who
seen
made
it.
a music video made a movie.
But after I saw the music video, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, I can see the connective tissue between Turn Down for What to Everything Everywhere All at Once. So this was an A24 production, and then three main stars. You'll obviously recognize the incredible Michelle Yeoh, Ke Huy Quan, who starred in Indiana Jones and Goonies, which I feel like Dave probably went gaga over because it's like two of his favorite films.
I will say my wife was freaking out in the theater when she saw him.
Really? Yeah. Yeah, a lot of Indiana Jones fans and Goonies fans will probably have a fun day with this one. And then Jamie Lee Curtis, which I did not expect. So
another freak out moment for my wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're forgetting one. I would say there's 4 because you're forgetting one.
Who am I forgetting?
Harry Shump.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. He's more of a secondary character, I would say.
Well, yeah, but I'd still say he's pretty famous.
He's well known.
Yeah, he's well known. So yeah, that's what we'll be discussing today. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And for those who don't know, we're currently on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter at The Spooky Screen. So that's our social media plug. And yeah, just moving on right forward, we're going to go to our 5-sentence spoiler synopsis. Sorry, 4-sentence spoiler synopsis. We're going to go Nick, David, myself, and then Noah is going to close us out. I mean, good luck to the 4 of us, because I don't think we're going to pull this one off. But
you know, every movie that we do this with, it gets harder and harder to do this with.
I just realized I was muted the whole time. Oh my god.
Okay,
so this is why you haven't said anything inappropriate yet. So let's keep it going. Nick, why don't you start us off on summarizing this movie, if it's even possible.
Okay. So Evelyn is a very traditional Chinese immigrant mother who runs a failing laundromat and pays attention to no one but herself, even at the expense of her own family, until she goes to the IRS because of her taxes and is contacted by an alternate version of her husband who tells her to do something ridiculous, which she absolutely refuses until the very last second when she's like, okay, you know what, maybe I'll try. And she fractures her mind into two separate dimensions and finds out that she is the chosen one who is going to save all the dimensions from the great evil of Jobu Tabaki.
Jobu Tapaki. Yeah. All right,
Nice.
Dave.
All right, Jobu Tabaki and the other bad guys catch wind of Evelyn and Wayman's, I guess, plot and start hunting her down. And in the subsequent, say what, like 45 minutes, Evelyn has to learn how to use this newfound power and skill of verse jumping. And she gets a couple abilities from her alternate
You could say multiversal selves.
Multiverse selves, personas. So when she finally meets Jobu Tabaki, she learns out that it is her daughter Joy.
And what is Joy's motivation not to kill her?
Yeah. Like, what's
What does she learn? What's the twist of that?
What's the big twist?
Oh, that she wants to like erase everything.
Yeah. Dave,
All right, Steven, you go.
This is really bad. I don't even know where to start. Okay, so Evelyn is killed, and we jump to another multiverse where we discover an Evelyn who hasn't really done anything and is the worst of all Evelyns, basically making all the wrong choices up until this point. And because of that reason, Alpha Waymond explains to her that she has the most potential. So she begins to accumulate powers in the same way Jobu Topaki does, and is able to verse jump and accumulate more and more abilities from other Evelyns from multiverses. So this is where she is with her daughter Jobu, who is Jobu Topaki, and she gazes into the everything bagel and learns that the everything bagel of destruction was created not to destroy the universe, but to destroy Jobu Tupaki, who is her daughter, Evelyn. Oh my God, this is so bad.
Oh, you're letting me go? Oh God.
Yeah, you gotta wrap this up somehow.
Okay, so Evelyn has this master plan that if she becomes like Jobu Tupaki, where she gains sentience of having all access to every universe at once, that she'll be able to convince her daughter not to destroy herself, and also to defeat everyone that wants to kill her. Because at this point, we forgot to mention that every single multiverse wants to kill Jobu Tubaki because she has been such a nuisance and such mayhem and chaos for them. So they're all looking to destroy her. So Evelyn's playing this dual war against the people that want to kill Jobu Tubaki and trying to stop Jobu Tubaki from killing herself. So she basically fails because she's unable to defeat the people that want to kill her and also convince her daughter to not kill herself. So she lets go, metaphorically, I guess, to her daughter. So her daughter enters the everything bagel to kill herself. But at that point, we learn, oh my God, we missed so much. This is Alpha Noah coming in from the Alphaverse. Quick, I don't have a lot of time. We're going to fast forward through this 4-sentence spoiler because it could be dangerous to the multiverses. My recommendation, let's pause this episode, go watch Everywhere, Everything All at Once, and come back to this exact spot. And once you're all set, on the count of 3, I'll clap my hand and we'll return to our regular programming, and the Noah from this universe won't even know I was here. 3, 2, 1.
Bravo.
That was rough.
So much we missed.
I mean,
yeah.
I think we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into
No, absolutely.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the gimmick then, and there were a lot of gimmicks that we could have gone with in this episode review, and I asked the guys to pick one of the following, which was either purchase a set of googly eyes, bake yourself some cookies as an act of fighting with kindness, wear two Bluetooth headsets if you guys have any still, which would be very
Yeah, right.
impressive.
Uh-huh.
Attach hot dogs to your fingers for the entire recording,
Oh,
which
that
would be
smells
also
so bad.
difficult. And then the last one was to find a feral raccoon and wear it on your head. Train it to
Raccoon.
stand on your head, which I would be
Raccoon.
very impressed with. But I'm assuming that everyone just went with the easiest one.
Yeah.
So I am going with this. I'm going to just stick this googly eye.
Did yours
Middle of
get
my forehead.
adheted? Does yours have adhesive?
No, mine doesn't. I have
You
to
don't
lick
really
it.
need. Yeah, you just
Yeah.
lick it.
Yeah, I looked at it. Might fall off at some point though.
Yeah, mine's probably gonna fall off at some point.
It's okay.
All right.
So this is our gimmick. This is basically from the movie. Waymond likes to stick googly eyes onto ordinary objects to make them seem happier, and it's just a little way that he introduces a little bit of cheer into everyone's lives. It's a little quirk of his character, but
It's genius.
again, speaks a lot to the type of character that he is revealed to be throughout this film. So this is our gimmick, and we're just gonna wear it until it falls off.
Woo!
All right. I'm very excited to hear opinions. So we're gonna go to the likes and dislikes. You know the rules.
I don't want to go
out
first.
give a well thought out reason why you liked or disliked the movie. Acknowledge Noah. Be specific instead of general. Boil down your reason to the ultimate why. So we'll go David, Nick, Noah, and then myself. So David, why don't you take it away? What did you think about this movie?
Ah, my eyeball. My third eye. All right. Everything, everywhere, all at once. I finally got that name down. This is, first off, you just have to see this movie. I think visually it's something that I haven't seen in a while, and it was a lot of fun to watch, and a lot of fun to watch in with people. All right, let me get to my point.
Are you gearing up to say that you didn't like it, David?
No.
I didn't like it. So
No.
This movie was amazing, and I give it a 1 out of 10.
No. I just this was, I don't know how to say this movie. My reaction in I'll just say, this was probably the best movie I've seen in 2022. Probably even including 2021. I have not seen a movie this good in a long time. And that's all encompassing, horror, anime, drama, comedy. And it's funny because the article you sent earlier, Stephen, categorized this as a black comedy, and I can totally see that too. But I love when a creator or group of creators can take an idea or feeling or conflict that they want to resolve. So the major conflict that I even started crying at the end of this movie, to be honest, and I haven't cried in a movie in a while, and it felt good.
You only cry at your daughter's albums
Oh,
that
yeah,
your iPhone
my iPhone generates.
Wow, that speaks volumes for this movie. It had the same emotions as your iPhone.
as an iPhone algorithm.
But it's so outlandish and zany, and I didn't really think that they were gonna hit you all the way with the feels when she confronts her father. And I just thought this was a really great movie that dealt with family trauma, and I would almost call this a family dramedy or a sci-fi family dramedy or whatever, because there was so much funniness, and it did not go over my head that the daughter's name was Joy, and this whole kind of subplot of the movie was Evelyn kind of finding her joy in her life and accepting the choices that she made and being happy with the choices that she made and content with the life that she had put together with her husband, no matter who like even her own father disapproved of it. And I just thought that was really powerful. I thought the message was really powerful, but it was just super creative. I thought like at first I thought they were like what is it? Uh expositing. They were doing too much
Exposition.
exposition. Um yeah, they were doing way too much exposition, but after a while I was like, "Oh man, you needed it." Cuz if they didn't do like if Waymond wasn't like if he wasn't telling Evelyn what was going on as a viewer, you would have been totally lost and you wouldn't been able to even figure it out for yourself. I don't know. It was just really good. I don't know. I have not had fun as fun watching a movie as I did watching this movie in a long time.
Okay.
So you liked it?
I did. I really liked it.
I did not like it. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
He always keeps us on our toes, David.
Yeah, we never know it, David.
All right. Nick, hit us with it. Did you like or dislike this film?
So I went into this film really wanting to love it, and then I watched it, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be good." Oh, I feel like I'm off. Hold on. And then I felt like it was great that this movie was like, "Oh, like I can make fun of myself." And then I thought it was gonna be nothing but jokes, and I was like, "Okay, if they're just gonna be funny the whole time, there's no real plot." But then when part two hit, because it's everything part one, everywhere part two, and then all at once is part three. The movie kind of like settled down, and like when it really like gets into like the nitty gritty of what it's about, like this is a really good movie in the sense of like it really teaches you about what to appreciate in life. Um, it really focuses on people's nihilism, um, and the character work. Everybody played their role to perfection. Evelyn being so overtly, I don't want to say overtly ignorant, but just being so strong to the point of being arrogant. I really liked it because of just the character work, the way they do character introspectives for for everybody in the family, the way they characterize every character and they go about the idea of nihilism. It's a great character study on what life is like for, I feel, not only immigrant parents and their more Americanized children, but a great character study on just the idea of boomers and millennials, because like one like just so how vastly different their worlds are.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to like to put it all in words,
It's
but
hard. Yeah. Let's just end it there, and then you can
Did you
give a little
like
bit more.
it?
yeah,
Yeah.
I liked it, and I have to say, like Dave, I haven't really enjoyed a movie like this in a pretty long time. Not to say like I haven't seen any better movies than this, but this movie was incredibly creatively enjoyable, and I
Okay.
very much appreciated that.
Okay. So you're like, it seemed you were staying a little low, and now you're like
Yeah, I was a
revealing the
little
fact that.
weary at first because I wanted to jump in like head first, and I was like, "Oh crap, what did I get into?" But then I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay, no, fears, my fears have been
Mm-hmm.
assuaged,
Assuaged. Yeah. You're good.
assuaged."
Yeah.
Assuaged. I like that better.
Massaged.
A
Assuaged.
sausage.
My fears are assuaged.
All right.
We're sausaged.
All right,
family.
Noah.
All
Hit us
right.
with it.
Yeah. Oh my
Whatever
god,
you
my
want.
eye fell off. Okay.
As long as you don't lose your, I was gonna say banana fingers, your hot dog fingers, then you're okay.
I mean,
S-
A24
So
is selling those.
yeah. So I will admit, I was a little concerned that this was an A24 movie, but I'll just ignore that. I don't want to get off topic. So, did I like this movie? I consider this movie, in my opinion, a masterpiece. And I don't say that a lot about movies. And I will say that this movie is now in my top 5, if not the number one spot, because I loved it that much. I was not only was I blown away by the pure imagination and creativity and also the way it was executed, but the both the heart and the laughs of the movie were just, they were classic. Like they were untouchably fantastic. And I was laughing and then I was crying and then I was laughing and crying. Like, I can't remember the last time a movie did that to me. Um, and it was such a joyous experience. And I I'm glad this movie exists. I think this is the reason why movies are made. You know, this is why I love the movies, is because of movies like this. And for someone that is a recovering nihilist, this was like the antithesis to my own beliefs, and I kind of needed this movie to exist because of it. You know, it's so easy to fall into the mindset of nothing else matters, especially after 2020 and 2021. And this movie was just, it was like a hammer to that mindset, which I needed. It like reinvigorated me. And I know that we were all talking about genres, but if someone were to ask me what type of genre this movie, I would just say there is no genre. Like, it has a little bit of something for everyone. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like when me and my wife, because I took my wife to see this, when we were talking about it afterwards, she was like, well, it deals with, a mother and daughter relationship, but it also deals with a mother and father relationship. That also deals with a husband and wife relationship. Like, it kind of has something for everyone. And it touches on each of those things so beautifully and resolves them in a way that's not cheesy, which is so impossible to do. Which brings me to the fact that I feel like the biggest obstacle for someone seeing this movie is the goofiness. It's outright zany, Looney Tunes craziness. But to me, that's what makes the movie so easy. It disarms you. It disarms you and puts you into a position where you can take that cheese. You can take what it's saying, its deep philosophical point, and lets you digest it in a way that it hits even harder because it's disarmed you of that. If this was just a straight dramedy and it was making all these deep points about relationships, me personally, I wouldn't have been able to receive it. But the fact that there's a man crying over his lost raccoon, Ratatouille, and then she picks him up on she picks him up on her shoulders and helps her get back his raccoon. Like, I was weeping and laughing at the same time at that point. And that was the power of this movie. So, I loved the movie, if you can't tell.
I mean, number one, top five all time.
Top 5, and that my
Nothing
number
else.
1 is yeah. So,
Is
it's
this
up
movie?
there.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Noah. So that's pretty much 3 straight likes across the board out of fourth. I love this film, obviously,
I'm about to say this is like I hated it every moment of it.
because
This was the
I was
worst
the
movie I've
one.
ever seen.
I was the one who watched it, and I was like to the rest of the group, I was like, "We need to review this film." And yeah, because this movie is one of those movies where you never forget where you watched it, under what circumstances you've seen it. There's only a couple movies that I can name off the top of my head that I remember sitting in a theater, who I sat with, what I ordered, what theater it was at, and I could probably count off of just one hand those types of films, and this is one of those films. Is um, it's just everything everywhere all at once. It's just stunning. It's like just an incredible film, the perfect film for 2022, a perfect antidote for like what everyone has kind of been through for the last couple years, all the chaos and craziness. And I think that it's just a miracle that this film exists. Personally, that's how I view it. I think Noah says it's a masterpiece. I agree with him. I don't throw that word around as well too often. I try not to. I try not to. I was doing my best not to hype this movie up for you guys. I was like, let's
I'm
just
glad you
review.
didn't.
I just texted these guys, and I think everyone should know this. I was like, let's just go review this movie, and I was just trying to keep it very, very cool. But in within inside me, I was like screaming. I was like, everyone needs to go see this movie right now. Like, I was like, please, everyone just say yes. That's what I was hoping, and thankfully you guys agreed. So we're sitting here now talking about it. But yes, I love this film. It is a masterpiece. Um, Absolutely, hands down, one of the best films I've seen in several years. And is one of those movies I'll never ever forget seeing in a theater for the rest of my life. So, yeah. All right, cool. So 4 likes, 4 strong likes across the board, maybe even loves.
Yeah.
That's
When was the
we're
last time that happened?
we're encroaching on love territory.
Uh-oh.
Which is
Too bad Johnny's not here. I would have loved to hear his
I
opinion.
know that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's one thing I was kind of
Yeah.
eager to hear. I was like hoping he would be able to see this film. Um, he'll have to give us his thoughts if he ends up going to see it. So we're gonna move on to questions and topics. So I wanted to just talk, for the remainder of this episode about just a couple things. I think just standouts, right? There was a couple questions that I kind of submitted to the group. I was like, let's talk about the theme, the message, the acting, the cinematography, the visual effects, the directing. And then the last thing I want to talk about, maybe tongue in cheek, was what are the Oscar chances of this film? I feel like this is one of those movies that the Oscar needs more than the movie itself
Yep.
does.
Yep.
Yeah.
100,000%.
Kind of
Yeah.
like, yeah,
100,000%.
kind of like Parasite.
Uh-huh.
I'm just trying to think of other films like, Dark Knight probably was one of those movies where, like, it deserved. I don't think it even got a Best Picture nomination. Actually, that's the reason why they expanded the field from 5 to 10. I remember that. So that is actually like a categorical definition of the Oscars needing this movie. But yeah, that's what I want to talk about. I just think that it's gonna be kind of like the same ethos as Everything Everywhere All at Once. Anyone just kind of throw out what stood out to them, what really just kind of grabbed your
I want
eyeball and attention. Yeah,
I want to say something
go ahead.
that follows your question. Um, I am a big Harry Potter fan. I will
Hmm.
see pretty much anything that Warner Brothers puts out. I read all the books as a teenager. It was the only books I read. So, saying that, prefacing that, I went and saw the third Fantastic Beasts because I might not enjoy them, but I will still see them.
Would
You're
you
a
say you're a
sucker,
So,
shill for
basically.
Harry Potter at this
so
point
I
then?
I just want to say, yeah, I guess I'm a shill. You could say that.
I said you're a sucker.
I'm a sucker, but I'm like a
Well, you love.
begrudging. I'm a begrudging sucker.
Of
I don't
course.
like just like everything just because it has Harry Potter on it. But I will see it.
You
So
love the world.
saying that, this movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, has more magic in 5 minutes of its runtime than the entirety of Fantastic Beast franchise.
Whew.
And that one scene, and I say that one scene, first of all, there's just they take their concept and they go to town on it. They go to town, like
Yeah.
the concept of being able to switch multiverses or gain skills from multiverses is just so well um, executed. Like they just take full advantage of that and they go nuts with it. And I say that as in Jobu Chibaki, when you meet her for the first time, she's just doing this nuts, like transforming like guns into dildos and like and then killing the guy with it, or moving her head backwards.
Mhm.
And it was a visual and an imaginative treat for my brain just watching it unfold. And then the ending is one of my favorite scenes of all time when she realizes she's supposed to fight with kindness, and then she's just going up the stairs against these people that are trying to kill her. It reminded me of the Matrix, Neo, when
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
he's going up the stairs and he's like slowly killing everyone with different weapons. But she goes and every person she battles, she like fulfills the secret longing in their heart, and like she's just like transforming them into, I think she gives a guy a puppy, or she spanks a guy, or she reunites someone with their lost love. And the imagination and the magic of that scene was beautiful, and it was like one of my favorite scenes. So I just wanted to give the movie that credit, that as a Harry Potter show, I completely bow down and give it the crown of the most magical movie I've ever seen.
I was
So
gonna say you kind of stole my thunder in the sense that I know Matrix 4 came out and everyone was really looking forward to continuation of
Yeah.
that story, and I feel personally that this movie does the idea of what the Matrix wanted better than any one of those four movies.
Yeah,
mhm.
Oh yeah, for
I
sure.
think we say The Matrix, we say Harry Potter because I the way that I saw this film was that it just felt like a love letter to a lot of different films. Like it was so clearly influenced by The Matrix, but in such incredibly amazing, advancing ways. Like it didn't just kind of sit on what The Matrix did and was like, I'm content with my movie being like a rehash of The Matrix. It took it and then like evolved it, pushed it beyond the limits, and just made it more and more relevant to this day and age versus when The Matrix came back in the 90s, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
also, for me, I'm a deep cut kind of guy, and I another film reference that they made in the movie that just had me smiling like a big old nerd was in those scenes where Evelyn, actress
Or like
multiverse, is
yeah.
in the alleyway with Kihi Kwan, is such a clear reference to one of the most uh, famous Hong Kong directors, Wong Kar Wai. They captured the exact aesthetic of his films, and then basically made Tony Leung, who starred in Shang Chi as the father, the main villain. He he's been in a lot of Wong Kar Wai's films. They just captured that aesthetic, and they captured exactly his type of characters in Kihi Kwan. And for me, I was watching it and I saw Ki Kwan as he was a James Bond in the elevator when he first got when he first got converted into Alpha uh, Raymond, and then he was this uh, jilted lover from a long time ago, reminiscing about the good old days with now famous actress Evelyn, and it just showed his range and almost like kind of pointing the finger at Hollywood and saying, you had a golden opportunity with this kid. You put
Mm-hmm.
him in two of the biggest movies, Goonies and Indiana Jones, and you knew what he was capable of. And this is what we're going to show. We're going to show basically what he could have done if you had given him a couple more chances. And I
Yeah.
thought that
Mm-hmm.
was just kind of like, that's how I interpret it. Maybe he didn't. He probably feels very content with how his life played out. But I was like, I just love that they gave him just such a wide range to play with because he just knocked it out of the park.
Yep.
To
He
to
was fantastic.
to piggyback off what Steven, you're saying, like when you go see like a Jackie Chan movie, I mean, I think Jackie Chan is an amazing actor, an amazing martial artist. Like you know what you're gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a few Jackie Chan movies that are like allow him to like be the great actor that he really is. And like when you're looking at someone like Michelle Yeoh, like these actors could have, when they brought up like the topic of her being like when she gets the kung fu powers, they could have pigeonholed her for the rest of the 2.5 hour runtime as some like kung
Yeah.
fu artist, but they let her run with it. Like you saw like the breadth of and like reach of all these actors. Like they were dipping into so many emotions. It was like no, like you're talking about like the magic of watching it. It was just it was everything everywhere all at once. There were kung fu artists. There were James Bond. It was a James Bond movie. It was a family movie. It was the grandpa's wheelchair turned into like
Right, he
a,
Turbo.
turned into
a
like a mech.
mecha.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It's like it was my eyeball fell off. It was it was really well done because there have been like multiverse movies where like when they like you're saying no or when you're like you're saying Steven, like they're trying to capture an aesthetic and a look and a time period, and they like they were they were like wringing every little bit of talent out of these actors and like allowing them to like so beautifully show their craft.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's so rare when you like when you watch a movie like this and you're like, this is why like people revere like actors as like great actors. You think of like Marlon Brando or like James Gandolfini, or even like when we reviewed The Shining, it's like you're just like, wow, like these were at like the top of their
Mm-hmm.
craft. And it was just it was really something to watch, and I don't think it's the sad thing is that I don't think it's something that we're going to see again for a while. And I think that's okay. I think that's okay. It's sad and it's okay because, not everything can be a masterpiece, or then you wouldn't appreciate the masterpieces. Um,
Yeah,
Do you think
not every. Yeah, go ahead. No,
No, Steven, you go ahead. You're the
not every
host.
film can be a every film
yeah,
can be a masterpiece, right?
Do you,
but
That's why it makes these types of viewings
to
all the more
yeah.
special.
to quickly answer Steven's question about the Oscars is I hope
Oh, we're
this.
gonna do it at the end.
Oh, we're gonna do that Oscar. I thought
Yeah.
we were talking about the
You
Oscars,
could just
or we
talk
were
about
just
it.
talking about anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
everything, everywhere, all at once.
my eyeball. I hope this movie doesn't get snubbed, and I hope it does win something. But
Win something, David. It could win something in every category.
well,
It
that's
could
what I
win
mean.
Best
Like,
Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay,
well, what I
Best
mean
Actor,
is,
Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress.
well,
Could win all the special
it
effects, costume design,
Mm-hmm.
it could, and
and it
I'm
should.
and
David,
yeah,
David, say
well,
it. Say it should.
no,
No, hold to
I'm
your
not. I'm
conviction.
not. I'm not fighting against you. But what I'm saying is, this is, I at my heart, I feel like it should win those things, and it could win those things. But there's something inside of me that tells me that this is the kind of movie that either breaks through the walls and does it screaming and fighting, and people recognize its greatness, or Hollywood closes its doors on it, and nobody will remember this movie.
Well, I think Steven is right in the fact that the Oscars need this movie more
Oh
than
yeah,
it needs an Oscar. At this point, I think it's going to be a beloved classic,
I could see
and
it. I could
I
see
think so.
if it doesn't make it, like if how Dave said, like the Hollywood shuts its doors on it, then it's instantly cult classic. Instant.
do you guys think that Hollywood executives and producers are looking at this movie and scratching their head?
I think so.
Yes,
In what
If it
absolutely.
way?
picked,
Like, what do you mean by scratching their
Like
head?
they don't understand why the
It
word
d-
of mouth is so great. Like
I feel like
because
they think it
they're
doesn't fit a
clear.
particular mold.
Yeah, like they clearly what we've been seeing is a clear formula for theater movies, right?
Yeah.
Like,
what's been
and the fact that
franchised.
A24 picked this up over another major studio makes me think because let's be fair, A24 is not blockbuster. That's not what they usually go for, right? They go for the small indie, usually horror, usually doesn't get a massive audience, nor is it well like universally liked. Like to me, this is the opposite of what an A24 movie, what A24 usually goes for. So I don't know. I think that Hollywood executives are looking at this movie and go, why do people like this?
Well,
So,
because for so long. Oh, so, you go, Nick. You go.
oh no, go ahead, because I was gonna go off topic.
I was just gonna say for a while, it's like been franchises. Hollywood has just been dipping, like, earning money off of franchises.
Fast
Like,
and Furious.
when is the last, like, IP movie, like, that you can remember watching it in a theater that it hasn't been a sequel or a franchise or a spin-off or a reboot?
I mean, I try to. So
I do.
I'm
Well, I
not the
mean,
right
there are,
person to ask that question.
but I mean,
yeah,
I'm
normal
talking
person.
about Hollywood movies.
No, but
Like,
that's what I really appreciate about this movie is that this movie ends very on the dot. There is no need. Could you make more? Absolutely. Is there need for more? Not at all whatsoever. Everything is very contained. It would be great, but you could tell that if they did a sequel, it would really be pushing it. Everything is just so self-contained in that movie. Everything you need to know is explained. Everything you need to see is shown to you. There is nothing that at the end of the movie that makes you want to be like, well, they didn't really. Oh, they kind of skipped over. There's no what ifs. You're By the end of it. If it were like a meal, then I would feel very satisfied by the meal that I ate. Like I would feel fed. I was
Yeah.
given everything I needed, and there's nothing I can sit here unless I really wanted to be a jerk and just be like, this movie, what grinds my gears. This movie didn't have enough of this.
See, I agree, and that's another point I wanted to bring up. That this movie really blows its wad. Like I think it feels like it's one shot, and it's just gonna go all for it. Like they took every idea, every great idea that they had in their brain, and they threw it on screen. Whereas you take like Halloween Kills, for example, they didn't do the Jamie Lee Curtis versus what's his name, Michael,
Michael
not
Myers.
Michael
Michael.
Myers.
Michael Myers fight, right? Because they were saving it for a sequel. So they held back certain things. This movie doesn't hold back anything. It literally just goes, and
Mhm.
it is not afraid to just be like, I'm here. I'm just gonna go everywhere. I'm like a firework. I'm poosh.
And you know
And
what?
at the end, I'll have no more fireworks, but at least it was beautiful. And that's what this movie was. I feel like it made it impossible to have a sequel because it used every single one of its ideas up
And I have
in
to
a
say,
best way.
I'm also very appreciative of the fact. So when I started watching this movie, I mean, I was enjoying it, but when a movie starts with a Chinese immigrant family and like a Chinese immigrant mother trying to relate to her more Americanized daughter and not being able to, seeing it with Katrina, like I was like, yeah, I can watch and I can enjoy this movie, but it's going to be like Rich Happy Asians. Is that the title for it?
No, crazy rich
Crazy Rich
Crazy
Asians.
Rich
Asians.
Asians.
Crazy
Sorry.
Rich Asians.
Rich
Yeah,
happy Asians.
Rich Happy Asians.
that's
That's
the
what it should have
sequel.
been called.
So when I saw Crazy Rich Asians, like I watched it and I enjoyed it, but I knew that it wasn't a movie that I could really watch and with a full understanding, and somebody like Katrina could, because that's more her culture. But this movie does a very good job of presenting these Asian characters, and yes, they deal with generational and family trauma that I feel only Chinese or Asian people would know. But you don't feel like the movie's just like, yeah, I know we chose these characters and we're choosing these topics, but there's still a giant place for everyone else. Like we're not alienating anybody by focusing, so like, even though we're kind of focusing solely on these cultural ideals and cultural family issues, there's still a lesson to be learned from anybody, no matter the culture, race, skin. Everybody can enjoy this. Everybody can find something about this, because yeah, I don't have um immigrant parents, and I don't have parents that I try to like, I have a struggle to relate to because they know one country and I know another. But I do know the feeling of not being heard by my parents. I do know the feeling of my grandfather being like, I don't want to say scary because my grandfather wasn't scary, but I understand the need of like, oh look, like the elders are here, you need to pick up, look sharp, be on top of the ball because they don't play around. And you almost seeing like the change in your parents when they come around because they're already traumatized by what they had to deal with them. So I do know that feeling. I may not know that feeling through the eyes of someone who's Chinese, but I do know that feeling in general. And I really appreciate that the movie doesn't alienate the rest of its audience by being like, yeah, you guys can get this, but this is really for a Chinese Asian audience, as opposed to be like, yeah, this is a Chinese Asian topic, but everybody can really jump in on this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I don't know what else. Yeah, I don't. What were you gonna say, David?
no, I was just gonna say like the resolution of the movie. I liked, like, going off of what Nick was saying. Like it's like a family, like dealing with like the family aspect. It wasn't. There are a couple movies that have been coming out like dealing with like generational trauma and family trauma, and it kind of ends in like a nice little tight bow, which is a nice ending. And it's nice to see, and it makes you have like a nice fuzzy feeling. And I like that this movie ended nicely, but yet still messily. Like you could tell that Joy and Evelyn's relationship wasn't like 100% super mom, super daughter. Like
It was on the
It's
mend.
wonderful
it was on the
because
mend. This was them, like it wasn't a finished relationship.
the
Like
movie almost tells you that, because like the focus on nihilism, like nothing matters. Like I appreciate that it doesn't change to, oh, of course things matter. You just have to find the things that matter, more so than like nothing still matters, or yeah, nothing still really matters, but you can still find the joy in nothing mattering.
I
Like
thought that
it's
was, yeah, that was beautiful.
yeah.
That was
I
a
do
Yeah.
beautiful
want.
message.
I really really want one of those auditor awards. I was the only person laughing in my theater at that point when she was bragging about her.
I saw that and I
her
pointed at Katrina and I
tax,
was like, why is
her
it a
I
butt
awards.
plug and
Is
why
I
it?
well,
was
no,
is
just dying.
Does it really? It doesn't really look like
I
that, does
saw
it,
that and I
Noah?
was like, is
They
that
they don't
Oh,
have
okay.
auditor awards, David. I wish they
I
did, and
mean,
I wish they looked like butt plugs because that'd
they've
be great.
they've got teacher awards, so I was
I
like, oh,
thought that
maybe they got the auditors.
My theater erupted when that guy jumps, the
bonsai
naked guy
jump?
without his pants, jumps in the air, and he's just slow motion comes down on the auditor award.
I saw. Yeah, I will say, watching this in a theater filled with people. My theater was packed, by the way, and I'm so happy that it was, because I mean, everyone was having the ride of their life with this movie, and like just cracking up. People were crying, and everything in between. Like, if you told me like a week before I saw this film that a movie about two rocks, one with googly eyes attached to it, is going to make you cry because one falls over a cliff, I would have been like, what on earth are you talking about? But this movie somehow made you feel feelings about two rocks.
See, Steven, that was my least favorite scene.
Really?
Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because it was so quiet the theater could hear me cry.
I
Jenna
know.
was like, "Get it together."
Get your
Be a
shit
man.
I feel like after
I-
watching
And
this
when she
movie,
chases after him, I was like, "No!"
I
You
feel
slide
like
after that,
It's
not
so
a rock.
beautiful, and it's just a rock.
I feel like
That-
we can all make the agreement that after this movie, the woman who plays Joy, Jade Sue,
Yeah.
is definitely in an upper echelon of acting. She blew it out of the
She
water.
What
is
was
She was
she
the
looked
best
so
villain.
familiar.
She
What
was the
she
best
in?
villain I've seen in so long.
She was a really nothing character in Shang-Chi. Like a really
Yeah, she was
nothing
her
character.
friend. She was his
Oh.
friend at the bar that
You want to know something
always
funny?
I thought she
What?
was in something else though.
Miss
Aqua-
Maisel. Miss Maisel.
Aquafina was supposed to play her Jobu Tupaki, but she
Um,
dropped out to the
Mm.
scheduling conflicts. And I'm, no, like, I'm not.
Yeah,
throwing any shade-
honestly,
I'm not
it-
not throwing any shade at Aquafina. I just thought, what's
But
her name? What's the actress's
Jade-
name again?
Jade Sue,
Jade
HSU.
Sue. She knocked it out of the park. She
Yeah,
was
she
playing
I
incredible.
will say I like Aquafina, but I fear that this role wouldn't have been suited to her.
I feel like
Um,
if it was Aquafina playing this role, I don't want to say it would bring the movie down, but it would not hit the same way.
I don't
if
know.
it
Like,
were
we don't
Awkwafina.
know that, right? In another universe, maybe she
Yeah.
did play a role and she knocked it out of the park. I'm just saying that in this, like, without kind of taking
Well, I'm not
throwing
trying to
shade
take
on
shots at
her.
her. I just don't. Think
no, we're
it-
not taking shots,
I
and we're
don't
just
think
saying we're
it
glad
just-
it ended up the way it did. I
Yeah,
think it.
'cause
I think it worked out well.
Yeah, I'm just
Be-
happy with the performance we got from Jay because she killed it. She
I
killed
think
it.
having
absolutely
a-
knocked it out of the park.
I think having a semi unknown actress was the correct move in the sense that you're already dealing with heavy hitters, and I think once you deal with like so many heavy hitters on screen, I think I don't want to say like egos get in the. I don't know.
I
It's
don't
kind
know.
of like a.
No,
See,
it's just,
I, mean,
see-
I don't know. She just. You're right. She just did such a
It
good
just
job.
I
was
I don't know.
see it. I see it more as I like that the movie was more actors that the general audience doesn't really recognize. I think that played better for the movie. The fact
Yeah.
that I'm familiar with Michelle Yeoh, but Jenna doesn't know Michelle Yeoh. She knows the guy from Goonies, but she hasn't seen the guy from Goonies Quan since he was a little kid.
Mhm.
And
And
then
the
if
guy who
Aquafina's
plays-
it, I feel like every single person would have recognized it. And in my opinion, I think this movie benefited from not having those mega blockbuster.
of obscurity.
The guy.
Yeah,
who plays the
it was
grandfather-
more easy to approach. Like it felt more on your level, if that makes sense.
The guy who plays the grandfather is also a pretty well-known. I want to say a well-known Asian, old Asian.
He's
Big
been
tr-
in.
character.
He's
Like
been in
he's
over
looked
like
the
300
same.
movies.
He's
what?
looked the same since like I was like 5 years old when I saw Big Trouble in
Yeah.
Little China.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's been
like-
in over like 300 movies.
He's a fantastic actor.
Yeah,
He does a lot of voice acting too,
Gong
I
Gong?
think.
Yeah,
Gong Gong?
Yeah,
the guy
Gong
who played
Gong.
Gong Gong, which just means grandpa.
Yeah.
For everyone who knows, who don't know, it just means grandpa.
I will say it was. I just, man, I don't remember. Yeah, it's just the range of emotions that I've experienced in this movie.
I
I
have a
agree with
question
David that I
for.
cried, and it felt good to cry while I was watching.
Oh my
Like,
God,
I
you
got
guys-
choked up. and
I'm
I
usually the
enjoyed
one
getting
that only
choked.
cries.
Oh, I was expecting Katrina because to me, a lot of this story, I kept looking at Katrina like side eyeing her to see if she would like get choked up because I felt like a lot of what was going on in the family in the movie mirrored her real life to a certain extent. So I was waiting to see if she would choke up. and she's actually been dealing with allergies. So she was sitting in the theater, and I heard her sniffing, and I was like, "Ah, it got her." She cried.
Gotcha.
But then I started getting choked up at different points and started crying a little bit. And then at the end, I was like, "So, like, what parts were you crying about?" She was like, "I wasn't crying. I just had my allergies." And I was like, "Okay." It was us together anyway. So,
Nick, I want to know what part you cried at.
um, the part there was a few, but I think the part that really made me cry, um, because I related it to my mom dying, was the fact that when she talks to her grandfather and he's just like, "How could you let go of me so easily?" And that broke me. I just
Yeah.
at that moment. The moment she said that, I was just like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god! Here come the feels."
Get back in there.
Yeah, yeah. That the
Sniffle
moment
down deep.
when she said that to him, like when she finally stood up to him and she was like, "How could you let go of me so easily?" I'm even getting choked up saying it now. Like that was heart wrenching.
When Raymond says to Evelyn that, you may have broken my heart, but in another life I would have loved doing laundry, and what was the other thing
And
for you?
taxes.
Yeah,
Intact.
Taxes.
Yeah,
that was
I was just
I would
like,
have happily done.
oh
that
my
was so
god,
sweet.
nobody look at my face right now.
I thought that was a
uh,
wonderful message too,
yeah,
Right,
of just finding
that you can
finding
find
joy.
happiness in anything.
and
Yeah.
and and then when for me, this is just kind of a credit to how absorbed I was in the movie. Like when a movie just kind of gets you by the cuffs of your shirt and just never lets you go. I didn't realize Raymond's motto was, I fight with, this is how I fight, with kindness, right? And
Yeah.
up until that point, it didn't really click with me. But once he said it, I was like, that is the most opposite, you know, contrarian, like, yet most beautiful message, that one could kind of commit to in a film. Where
Yeah.
you go to watch horror films, right? And it's just violence, and you're fighting, and there's evil entities and evil people, and it's an antagonist and a protagonist. But like, Raymond was like, no, 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 I fight with kindness. I bake cookies for my
Mm-hmm.
the person who's
Kind.
auditing me,
Mm-hmm.
like, and I was like, what an incredibly, beautiful statement that is.
And
And
he
So
doesn't even
yeah.
just say it in the sense like, "This is just what I do." He's like, "This is my strategy to stay
yeah,
alive. This is how I
Yeah.
make sure I keep going. I fight by being kind."
I
I
thought
thought that
it.
was a beautiful moment too when she comes to evict them from their laundromat, and basically Michelle Yeoh goes crazy, right? And the
Yeah.
police are called,
yeah,
and the Kwan, Wayman, goes up to her and whispers something in Jamie Lee Curtis's character's ear, and she immediately just drops the eviction right and gives them another chance.
yeah,
And then later on, Mich, Evelyn and Jamie Lee Curtis meet outside, and
Deirdre, that's
they
her
bond.
name.
Deirdre,
yeah,
they bond over, you know, that their husbands both wanted a divorce, and it was just such like they couldn't have been from further walks of life, right? But
there was a common thread.
they were connected, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
They were able to connect with each other and sympathize with each other and listen to each other when you could have easily just been so far apart from each other. Like, I look different from you. I have different jobs. I'm I'm I have authority over you because I can evict you, right? But in that moment they were the same person and they were listening to each other. And it was just such a beautiful moment that I don't know. Nowadays you just feel like you
It
don't
didn't
see.
feel forced. It felt
No, it
very
felt,
natural.
yeah. It felt
It
very
was.
yeah,
natural.
yeah,
I thought it was a really great bookend moment for when they enter the audit uh, office building, and Wayman sees the older Asian couple, and they're like being very like lovey dovey with him, and he's like, you could see the longing in his face and like the
yeah,
love that he wants to receive from his wife. And then at the end, totally like unprovoked or like unsolicited, she's like, give me your fanny pack, and she like kisses, like does that like super like awkward kiss, and he's just like, you could see that he's like he's that like giddy schoolboy,
Right?
like
He's like so
my
taken aback at first. He's like, "Wait, am I getting a kiss? Oh, I'm getting a kiss."
yeah, like his like little crush from the schoolyard just like gave him a peck on the cheek,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just so beautiful, and I think that was like a beautiful example of like, you're in a difficult situation, you're in a difficult place, you're going to get audited, but I'm gonna choose. I'm gonna be in this moment with you. I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna show you love, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna be joyful in this moment with you. And I don't know. This really was just like an amazing movie.
See,
On that
you and
note,
Steven, I just
I'll
wanted to
go.
ask one last
Yeah.
question. You and Steven said it's been like decades or a few years since you saw a really great movie,
Mm-hmm.
right? What would you consider better than this movie?
Better than this movie, or on this level?
Yeah.
I don't think I could I don't think I could compare personally,
Yeah, it's
but
so
Yeah,
I
it's
would.
different.
apples and oranges between
Yeah,
different kinds of movies.
like for me, like I was saying earlier when I was giving my like or dislike, there are only very few movies that I remember seeing in theaters. I could pinpoint exactly where I watched them. Like The Matrix is one. I remember exactly where I was when I saw The Dark Knight for the first time. Um, Fury Road, Parasite, and then this film. And like,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know why, but just these movies kind of stick out in my head. Who I watched them with, where I saw it, under what circumstances, and that's not to say I would compare. Like they're all such vastly different films, right? One's a superhero movie, one's an action adventure, kind of like a multiverse, similar to Everything Everywhere All at Once. Another one's apocalyptic. Another one's a home invasion thriller, black comedy. Like so different.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for me to compare to other films, but I would rank it up there, amongst my favorites.
This movie is vastly different than the movie that's gonna come out of my mouth right now. But the last time that I saw a movie that made me like really feel these complex emotions and kind of go through the motions, and um was the movie Warrior, which is like a dumb fighting movie about two brothers that are like doing a UFC tournament. But
It's a good movie though.
Hmm.
it's an excellent movie, and it's one of those movies where it's like just an unassuming kind of sports movie, but you could tell that they were acting the hell out of those roles, and that's really what made the movie.
Right.
And I think it's similar to this movie. It's like you could have changed any one of these actors, like we were saying. Maybe it would have been great, or maybe it would have been horrible. Like, you just don't know. Like, it was just the right combination, and you know it just clicked.
Agreed. Because I
Yeah.
would say
All right.
another movie that made me just feel that, like, I remember watching 12 Pounds, and, like, that's a very. Or no, maybe not 12 Pounds. I'm sorry, Pursuit of Happiness. And that's a very. Like, that really tugs at the heartstrings in a lot of different ways. And this movie still made me feel completely different complex emotions than The Pursuit of Happiness did. And I remember crying when watching The Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah. All right. Let's. With that being said, let's move on to final scores, recommendations, and then close out this episode. So let's go in Noah, myself, David, and then Nick. So Noah, what will be your final score for this film?
Well, if I didn't give it a 10 out of 10 after talking the way I did, I think
You'd be a
I
David.
would be a disservice. So I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Like I said, it's in my top 5, if not top 1, at least at the moment. And I consider it a masterpiece. And I think everyone should see it. And I have recommended it to everyone that I could. And I will continue to do so. Because I think anyone could get something out of this. So
Yeah.
that's my recommendation. That's my score.
Yeah, and we
10 out of
haven't
10.
even talked about the fact that you are an an accountant. So
I am an accountant, and
professionally
that this
speaking,
movie
this
literally
movie.
spoke to me. That's what I said. I wanted that auditor award. I don't know why they don't give those out to
When I saw that award, I was like, does it look like a butt
popular.
plug specifically because, like, auditors have to be so much of an asshole that they get an
That's what
award.
I took
At
out
least
of it
there's
when
like
I
a
first. That's what I took out of it when I first saw it. I was like, that is the best thing that you could have. If I could think of an auditor award, that's exactly what it would look
I
like.
thought, you know what I thought it was? I thought it was a stamp, like you
Yeah,
stamp
I
on
think that's what it was
documents.
supposed to be, but it was
Yeah.
obviously designed as a.
Do you stamp any documents as you like verify
Probably
them?
back in the day they did, but
Yeah,
now
so
everything's electronic.
that's what I thought it was. Anyways,
They don't
okay.
just give those to anybody.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
oh man, she was fantastic.
She's
God.
so
Everyone was so good in
Oh,
this.
when she
movie.
flips the switch to like bounty hunter, like sumo wrestler killer, it was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so goddamn good.
All right, my final score is a 10 out of 10 as well. That's just no surprise to me, honestly. This movie is just one of the best films I've seen in theaters in a while, and that includes the non-pandemic years. And yeah, I honestly recommend this film to everyone. As the film name suggests, just go see this movie, give it a shot. This film deserves to succeed. So yeah,
Mhm.
That's my final score. I think Nick, you're next.
No, David.
Oh, David. Yeah, David, you're next.
All right. It was funny because when I saw this movie, I was like, it was like my gut reaction was 10 out of 10, and then I was like, oh man, I don't want to be like the 10 out of 10 guy in front of everyone else. I bet everyone's gonna give it like an 8 or a 9. But now that you guys are being very honest with your scores, that I would say that this movie deserves a 10 out of 10. I don't, and I'm not going to say that like, oh, you can't nitpick anything because, of course, that's just subjective or whatever.
Mhm.
But I believe there are books that you need to read. There are authors that you need to read. There are creators that you need to observe at least once in your life. Even if you don't like art or fine art, or you don't get art, or you don't read much, read it. Like, there are things that you need to experience, and I think out of the realm of film, hopefully, like modern film, I'm not even talking about like classic film. I hope that this goes down as something that, if you enjoy film, or if you're interested in what film can really do, this takes all of the tools that go along with the world of film, acting, set design, cinematography, direction, writing, and
Don't you dare say 3 out of 10,
This is
David.
like an
no,
academy.
well, no, I said
No, he
10
already
out
said
of
10 out
10.
of 10.
Okay,
Yeah, 10
good,
out of
Okay,
10.
good.
I was like, this is an Academy Award speech leading up to like a
No,
7 out of
I'm
10.
just saying that this.
I will literally choke you.
No, I think this is one of those movies that it's important to see.
Steven's gonna get an
I'm playing you off right now.
unknowingly.
the music's on,
Yeah.
David.
It's gonna be like
Yeah.
10 in the morning.
Wrap
David's
it
gonna
up.
be drinking his coffee, and then he's gonna get a knock on the door. He's gonna be like, "Who's here at 10 in the morning?" He opens the door, and Steven just reaches in and starts choking him. He's like, "Why did you give it that?"
All right, Nick, you're next.
All right, Nick. No pressure whatsoever.
So I too, like Dave, was thinking like, oh man, like my initial reaction was to be like, oh, like 10 out of 10. Oh wait, no, I don't want to be that guy. But then after really thinking about it, I give this movie a 9 out of 10.
All right.
And the only reason I give it a 9 is because, like I said earlier, when I was watching it, I was very appreciative of the fact that they didn't take themselves too seriously and they were being very funny. But at one point, I got to the point where I was like, okay, are you guys just going to do away with the plot because you just want to be funny? Because it almost seemed like they just went like a slight step a little too far before they brought themselves back.
With like the multiverse jumping, like how they had to jump verses and stuff like that.
No, I would say that Jobu Tabaki, when she first like unleashed herself, like it was cool, but it was borderline. Like it was just borderline too much. Like, was it funny that she bought out dildos to beat the crap out of the security guards with? Yes, but it almost went on just a little too long for my
I
liking.
mean, Nick, I think this movie
It was almost parody.
Yeah, I get what Nick's saying.
That's
No,
fine because it's still
yeah.
a 10, even
Yeah,
if
it's
you
still a
vote
10.
9.
No, yeah.
You
Nick.
rounded
Well,
up.
no,
It's still
but
10.
so I mean, that, I'm
We've
giving my-
consumed your 9.
That's fine. I'm giving my honest opinion. I still think it's a fantastic movie,
It's
and
fair.
like everyone said, I think I don't want to say everyone should go see this because I feel like it's going to be really hard to like try to convince my aunt like you should see this movie where this girl beats up somebody with dildos, you know, like that's a hard sell. Um, but I do think there is something for everyone in this movie. You will definitely take something out of this movie by the time you're finished with it. I don't think the runtime shows itself at all. It's a 2.5 hour movie, and even though you acknowledge that you're sitting there for 2.5 hours, there's not one point in this movie where you're like, "All right, this is dragging. Come on, you know." Um, so I definitely recommend this for. I would say anybody who's like 50 and down. Because I feel like it's a hard sell to tell somebody about beating
Man,
them up
you're
with
eliminating
dildos.
most of the population. Like,
My mom is 15 up.
Okay, you tell your mom to watch a movie where a girl beats a guy with a bloody dildo. That's
just
just a
one
hard
scene.
sell
You
on
never
my
know.
part.
You never know. You don't know if they'll like it or not.
That to me is just a hard sell. But yes, I think I'd say the majority of everybody should watch it, but know your audience still.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
All right, so that still gives us a final score of 10. So your
yeah,
9
that's
is
the
irrelevant.
caliber. Yeah, that's the caliber of movie we're dealing with, where 9 is a low score, and we're disappointed.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I think we've covered it basically. It's up there in terms of
Yep.
one of the best films that we've seen collectively as a group. So I think with that being said, thank you
Do we
everyone.
do we think that Ratatouille is going to be the next Halloween costume and the hot
Oh,
dog fingers?
absolutely.
It's just gonna
Everyone's gonna be.
be. It's just gonna be googly eyes everywhere.
You're gonna see. Yeah, you can buy the hot dog fingers off of the A24 website right now.
Oh,
So I'm
really?
very tempted
Ratatouille.
to buy that. So, anyways, thank you everyone for listening to this episode of reviewing Everywhere Everything All at Once.
Go see it.
This go see it. This
Yes,
is a
go see
spooky
it.
screen. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, reviewing movies and TV shows, horror and non-horror. And yeah, we'll be back again for a new episode. And just want to say thank you again for listening. Have a good night.